Welcome to the Washington County Environmental Network. I am your host, Adam Mayer. Today we will be having an open discussion about peak oil. With me today are two members of Washington County Peak Oil. They will be discussing about what peak oil is, how it will affect society, and what you can do to prepare. Our first guest is Tatiana de la Cruz, who has been with Washington County Peak Oil for over a year now.
Yes, actually I started a year and a half ago and got interested in it about 2 years now.
That's great. And we also have Lisa Perrine, who was one of the founders of Austin Peak Oil in Texas before you came here, correct?
Correct. My husband and I became interested in this subject, I would say, about 4 years ago, having read some books on the subject, and we felt impelled to get the word out to people. So we actually started a group in both San Antonio, Texas, and in Austin, Texas.
So let me follow up then, Lisa. What is peak oil?
Peak oil is that point in time when the maximum oil to be produced worldwide is being produced. And the peak oil group that we represent believe that that point is now. Following that peak, the supply that can be obtained, produced by the oil producers, will drop off gradually, possibly more than gradually, as the demand continues to increase. China and India are both industrializing and trying to produce a lifestyle such as the United States has, and the demand in our country is growing as well, and around the world. The price is going to increase.
As we see with oil prices currently now, at the time of this taping, is almost $100. So more countries competing for a shorter or smaller reserve of oil then.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, Tatiana, Washington County Peak Oil, you said, was created about a little over a year ago. What was the impetus of creating an organization here in Washington County?
Well, what happened was Ed Culp actually started the group, I believe it was about a year and a half now, where he did a meetup group, and we started getting together and building a little community of people who were interested in bringing about public awareness, changing public policy, and getting network and resources available to the community at large. We all believe, we're just private citizens, and we all believe that the imminent decline of oil is going to affect all of us, and it was very important for us to get a group together to kind of acknowledge that and find ways to work with the community to come up with some answers or ways of kind of mitigating the disaster that seems to be looming.
Okay, that sounds like a great goal. Now, in the past year and a half, have you accomplished, or what has the group accomplished or gotten to help achieve some of these goals?
Well, I actually have a list.
Sure, please.
We have public meetings on the second Tuesday of every month, and so we've shown films about peak oil. We have speakers. We've done preparation topics, and we've done a lot of PR work. We've had some of our members interviewed in newspapers, and we put out press releases for events that we do. We are going to hopefully be doing Peak Moment TV, and we have a book club at Powell's on the fourth Tuesday of every month, and we do different books such as Power Down or The Long Emergency, and anybody can come to that. That's, even if you haven't read the book, it's a great kind of informal gathering, and we discuss the different peak oil topics. And we also have a website up, and that's Washington County peakoil.org.
Right.
And you can get all kinds of resources. There's blogs, there's community conversations, and it's just a great way to get introduced to the whole peak oil phenomenon.
No, it's a great website. In fact, doing my research for this program, I did go on there and see how much information, and it's a great website to go to.
Absolutely.
Now, beyond Washington County, then, Lisa, are there other groups here in Oregon or as well as around the country who are, besides, I know you did one in Texas and Oregon, is this a phenomena that's growing?
It is growing. As of this point in time, there are 167 other peak oil groups around the country, in all the major cities and across the country. In Portland, Portland Peak Oil was actually started before the Washington County Peak Oil, perhaps by a year and a half or 2 years, and that group has worked with the City Council of Portland to issue a resolution sponsored by the entire City Council that states that this is a factual issue, that the city needs to change some of its policies to get ready for a real change in all of our lives. They set up a task force that worked for almost a year at looking at ways to do that. Also, Clackamas County, I believe, has a fairly new peak oil group. So if you're interested, there is a group around that you can get involved with.
That's wonderful. Now, getting back to what you were saying before, Tatiana, you mentioned Peak Moment TV. Now, I understand that Washington County Peak Oil is sponsoring this program. That's so?
That's so. And what it is Peak Moment TV. It's produced in California, and it's 50 plus 30-minute segments addressing various issues of the peak oil process, solutions. It's a very, very informative and well-produced segment.
Okay, and from what I understand, we now have a clip that we can show right now to the viewers. If
on every issue, certainly not. But on this particular issue, I think we have to see where the leadership is and support it wherever it is, and try to educate those who aren't taking leadership on this issue and get them to, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, Greens, socialists, libertarians, whatever.
Perhaps because this is an issue that grabbed me, as it obviously has grabbed you, I found myself thinking, there are other important issues in the world, but how can we even... The reduction in oil and gas is going to affect everything else. Everything else. The volunteers who can come work with your organization, or the folks coming to church. I mean, it's going to affect all the institutions in our culture, from the family right on out.
That's right.
That it's too late for, this issue, it's too late for flags, for sides, for division, for labels.
Right.
Or at least it surely calls for that.
Yeah. Well, of course, there is a certain built-in division between what we've been calling cornucopians, or late peakers, people who believe that this is not a problem, that global oil production peak won't happen for decades, or maybe they believe in abiotic oil or something like that.
Okay.
So there certainly is controversy, and there isn't sort of inherent division, but hopefully that can be settled. That conversation can be settled by the facts and by better data, and rather than by political argument. But I think the Hirsch report.
now, as for peak oil in the media, is there enough coverage out there? How often will you see something about peak oil?
I would say there's not a total lack of coverage, but there has been very little coverage. The federal government knows all about this subject and does not discuss it in any way, shape, or form. There has been a senator, I believe it is a senator, who has brought it up in front of the Congress. So I know that every member of the Congress totally knows about it. I believe that it's a crisis headed our way, like global warming, but in this case, very little has been done to let the average person know what's ahead of them.
And what about the accuracy